The massive council chamber gleamed with polished metal and floating holograms. Thousands of alien representatives from across the galaxy sat in rising tiers, their bodies of all shapes and sizes filling the circular room with a mix of clicking, humming, and translator-aided chatter. Earth's first representatives stood on the speaking platform, trying not to show their awe. Ambassador Tom Gray kept his face neutral as he looked up at the council leaders. Next to him, General David Miller stood straight-backed in his formal uniform, his weathered face betraying no emotion. The head counselor, a tall being with crystalline features, leaned forward. Earth representatives, you stand before the Galactic Council. Your species has achieved faster-than-light travel, marking your eligibility for council membership. Tom nodded respectfully. We are honored to be here. However, the head counselor's translator conveyed a tone of superiority. Your civilization is classified as low tier. Your technology is crude. Your ships are inefficient. Your weapons are primitive. As per council law, low-tier civilizations must pay tribute to support the greater galactic community. General Miller's jaw tightened slightly, but he remained silent. Tom maintained his diplomatic smile. Could you elaborate on this tribute system? A different counselor, one with multiple eyes and gray skin, activated a holographic display. All new species must contribute. For low-tier civilizations like yours, the rate is 30% of all planetary resources. Additionally, you must share all technological developments for review and improvement. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Many species looked down at the humans with what seemed like pity or contempt. That seems like a significant demand, Tom said carefully. How long has this system been in place? 10,000 galactic cycles, the head counselor replied. Every species you see here has paid their dues. It is the foundation of our civilization. Tom noticed something interesting. The smaller species, those that looked physically weaker, seemed to shrink in their seats. The larger, more imposing species sat with obvious pride. He filed this observation away. We will need time to discuss this with our world's leaders, Tom said. You have 10 Earth days, the head counselor declared. We will expect your answer then. As Tom and General Miller left the chamber, they maintained their composed expressions. Only when they reached their ship did they let their guards down. Did you see it? Miller asked quietly. Tom nodded. The physical differences, the power dynamics. They've built a hierarchy based on perceived strength. They think we're weak because we're new, Miller said, looking out the ship's window at the massive council station. They haven't bothered to study us properly. No one told them that humans climb to the top of their food chain on a death world, Tom agreed. No one mentioned that we evolved as pursuit predators who could outrun anything through sheer endurance. Miller smiled grimly. They classify our ships as primitive because they don't understand why we built them so sturdy. They think our weapons are crude because they haven't seen what a primitive kinetic round can do to their fancy shields. We should tell the council yes, Tom said suddenly. Miller turned to him in surprise. Tell them yes, Tom continued, but request a demonstration period. Let them think we're complying. Meanwhile, we gather information. We assess their true capabilities. And when we're ready, we show them why assuming humans are weak is a terrible mistake, Miller finished. Their ship detached from the council station, its primitive engines humming quietly. As they headed back to Earth, neither man spoke much. They had seen enough. The council had revealed more than they knew with their arrogance. In 10 days, they would return with Earth's official response. But for now, they had work to do. Humanity had fought too hard for its freedom to bow down to yet another group of would-be overlords. The galaxy was about to learn an important lesson about underestimating humans. The emergency meeting room deep beneath the United Earth Defense Headquarters buzzed with tension. Leaders from every major nation sat around a massive table, their faces illuminated by the holographic display showing the council's demands. Tom Gray stood at the front, presenting what they had learned. The Council expects 30% of all Earth's resources. This includes water, minerals, rare elements, and biological materials. They also demand access to all our technology for review and improvement. They want to strip our planet, President Kate Wilson said, her voice tight with controlled anger, and steal our innovations while they're at it. The room erupted in multilingual outrage. Tom waited for it to quiet down before continuing. During our visit, General Miller and I noticed something crucial. The Council species are physically different from us in significant ways. General Miller stepped forward, activating a new hologram. Our scans revealed that even their strongest species have approximately 60% of human muscle density. Their endurance is even lower. Most Council races evolved on low-gravity worlds with minimal predators. What about their technology? Asked Director Jack Smith of Global Defense. They seem far advanced. Superficially, Miller replied. Their ships are faster, their weapons flashier. But they've never had to fight the way humans have. Their wars were brief, limited. They never developed the concept of total war or long-term conflict. The Chinese representative leaned forward. So their technology is like a beautiful sports car, while ours is more like a tank. Exactly, Tom nodded. They value speed and elegance. We built for survival and sustained combat. They don't understand why anyone would need such crude designs. President Wilson stood up. What are our options? They gave us 10 days to respond, Tom said. I suggest we use this time wisely. Our ships are already scanning their territories. Their arrogance makes them careless with security. A hologram appeared showing Council military positions. They concentrate their forces around their core worlds, Miller explained. Border regions are lightly defended. They rely on reputation and intimidation more than actual strength. And what happens if we refuse? Someone asked. They'll try to force us, Miller said simply. But they've never faced anything like humanity. We're stronger, tougher, and more importantly, we understand something they don't. Which is? President Wilson asked. The true meaning of war, Tom answered grimly. They fight for dominance. Humans fight for survival. There's a crucial difference. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. These aliens, for all their advanced technology, had never experienced the kind of determination that humans could muster when threatened. We should send scouts, Director Smith suggested. Small ships, minimal crews. Map their territories, identify weaknesses. Already done, Miller smiled. Our primitive stealth systems work perfectly because they're looking for their kind of technology, not ours. President Wilson looked around the room. We need to vote. Do we submit to their demands, or do we take a stand? If we submit, Tom mourned, we'll never be free. They'll drain our world dry and leave us with nothing. But if we resist, he paused meaningfully. We could change the entire power structure of the galaxy, Miller finished. The vote was unanimous. Earth would not submit. Send word to all our shipyards, President Wilson ordered. Full production, complete secrecy. When we reply to the Council, we need to be ready. As the meeting ended, Tom and Miller stayed behind. They watched the leaders file out, each carrying the weight of what was to come. They still think we'll just hand over our resources, Tom mused. Miller nodded. Let them think that. When they realize what humanity is truly capable of, it'll be too late. Outside, Earth's factories and shipyards hummed with activity, hidden from prying eyes. The Council had made a crucial mistake. They had threatened a species that had clawed its way to dominance on a world that tried to kill it every step of the way. And now, that species was preparing to show the galaxy exactly why that was a very bad idea. Deep in Earth's most secure research facility, Dr. Alan Reed studied the holographic displays with intense focus. Data streamed across multiple screens, showing detailed analyses of Council species' biological and technological capabilities. Show me the combat simulation again, he commanded. The AI complied, projecting a detailed scenario of human versus Council forces. Captain Lisa Brown entered the lab, carrying fresh data from the stealth missions. "You need to see this, Alan. Our scouts found something interesting." The new information appeared alongside the existing displays. It showed Council ships performing standard maneuvers, their movements precise but predictable. "Look at their battle formations," Lisa pointed out. "They fight like they're following a manual. No adaptation, no improvisation." Alan nodded, adding the information to his models. They've never needed to think outside their box. Their technological superiority usually guarantees victory. "Usually," Lisa smiled, "but they've never fought humans." The lab's main screen displayed a side-by-side comparison. Council ships moved in elegant, complex patterns. Human ships appeared cruder, but showed remarkable flexibility in their tactics. "Their shields are optimized for energy weapons," Alan explained. "They barely register kinetic impacts because they've evolved beyond primitive projectile weapons, which means our railguns will tear right through them," Alan finished. "They're so focused on advancing their technology that they've forgotten the basics of physics. A simple tungsten rod accelerated to high velocity will do more damage than their fancy plasma weapons." Lisa walked around the holographic display, studying the Council species' physical characteristics. "What about ground combat?" Ellen pressed a few buttons, bringing up new data. "Even more interesting. Their strongest warriors can fight at peak performance for about 20 minutes. The average human soldier can fight for hours." "Persistence hunting," Lisa murmured. "We evolved to chase prey until it collapsed from exhaustion." "Exactly. And none of their species developed that way. They're sprinters, not marathoners. In any extended conflict, we have a massive advantage." The door opened again, and Colonel Bill West entered, looking grim. "Time's almost up. The Council expects our answer tomorrow." "Then they're in for a surprise," Lisa said. "Our stealth ships are in position." Bill nodded. "Hidden in asteroid fields and nebulae near every major Council military installation. The moment they make a move, we'll know." Alan brought up one final simulation. "Look at this. Their entire defense strategy relies on overwhelming force in the first few minutes of combat. They've never had to fight a prolonged war, because no one ever survived long enough to make them fight one." Bill understood. "But we're different." "We're very different," Alan agreed. "Humans don't just survive adversity. We thrive on it. Every time we face a challenge, we come back stronger." Lisa studied the tactical displays. Their ships are faster, their weapons more advanced, but they're like glass cannons. One good hit, and they shatter. While our ships, Bill added, are built to take a beating and keep fighting. Alan shut down the holographic displays except for one, a countdown to their deadline. "The Council thinks they're dealing with primitive savages who will bow down before superior technology. Instead," Lisa said, "they're about to face an enemy that turns survival into an art form." Bill checked his communicator. "The response fleet is ready. Every ship is in position, masked by our primitive stealth systems. And the Council has no idea." Alan smiled. "Because they never bothered to look for technology less advanced than their own." As they left the lab, the final display continued its countdown. In less than 24 hours, humanity would give its answer to the Council's demands. It wouldn't be the answer the Council expected. And by the time they realized their mistake, humanity would already be showing them exactly why underestimating Earth was the biggest mistake in galactic history. The assessment was complete. The pieces were in place. Now, it was time for action. The Council chamber hummed with anticipation as Earth's representatives took their place on the central platform. This time, Tom Gray wasn't alone with General Miller. They had brought a small delegation, including Dr. Alan Reed and Captain Lisa Brown. The head counselor's crystalline features caught the light as he leaned forward. "The time has come. What is Earth's response to our reasonable demands?" Tom stepped forward, his voice clear and steady. "Honorable Council, we have carefully considered your request for tribute." He paused, letting the tension build. "Our answer is no. The chamber erupted in shocked murmurs. Some council members actually laughed, thinking this was some primitive attempt at negotiation. Perhaps the head counselor's voice carried artificial patience. You don't understand the consequences of refusal. No species has ever. We understand perfectly, Tom interrupted. You demand tribute because you believe we are weak. You think our technology is primitive, our species inferior. His voice hardened. You are wrong. General Miller stepped forward, activating a holographic display. These are readings from our primitive sensors. We've mapped every major military installation in Council space. Your defenses have significant weaknesses. The laughter died. The head counselor's crystalline features darkened. This is impossible. Our stealth technology only works against advanced scanning systems, Dr. Reed explained. You never considered that someone might use simpler methods. Basic radar, infrared, gravitational distortion detection. You dare threaten the Council? The large, warrior-like being stood up. Our fleets will reduce your world to ash. Captain Lisa Brown smiled. Those fleets need to reach us first, and they need to survive long enough to make a difference. The chamber grew silent as new holograms appeared, showing Council ship formations. Red dots appeared among them. Earth vessels that had been hiding there for days. Impossible, someone whispered. Their stealth technology is too crude to work. Tom asked. Or too crude for you to believe it could work. Your arrogance blinds you. While you looked for advanced energy signatures, our ships slipped past using basic heat sinks and signal dampeners. This is your final chance, the head counselor warned. Submit or face annihilation. No, Tom replied simply. This is your final chance. Withdraw your demands or learn why humans survived on a world that tried to kill us every day of our evolution. You think you can fight the combined might of the Council? The warrior species representative laughed. General Miller stepped forward. We don't think. We know. Your species fight for dominance. Humans fight for survival. There's a difference. Your ships are faster, Dr. Reed added. Your weapons more advanced. But we've studied you. You can't fight for more than minutes at peak performance. Humans can fight for hours, days if necessary. This is your final warning, Tom stated. Withdraw your demands. Recognize Earth as an equal member of the galactic community, or discover why threatening humanity is a terrible mistake. The Council chamber descended into chaos. Some members called for immediate military action. Others, seeing the human delegation's confidence, began to worry. You have 1 hour to decide, Tom announced. Choose wisely. As the Earth delegation turned to leave, the head counselor found his voice. No species has ever dared. Then perhaps, Tom looked back. It's time for the galaxy to learn that being older doesn't always mean being wiser. They walked out, leaving the Council in disarray. Outside the chamber, Lisa checked her tactical display. All ships report ready. If they choose war, they'll learn, Miller said grimly. They'll learn why humans don't submit to threats, why we don't bow to bullies, and why assuming we're primitive might be the last mistake they ever make. The countdown began. In 1 hour, the galaxy would either change forever or learn why threatening Earth was never a good idea. The Council's response came in the form of a massive fleet dropping out of faster-than-light travel near Earth's orbit. Their ships gleamed with advanced technology, arranged in perfect geometric formations that had intimidated countless species before. Admiral Mike Stone watched from the bridge of the Earth Defense Force flagship, Resilience. His weathered face showed no emotion as he studied the tactical display. They'd brought exactly what we expected, he noted. Impressive-looking ships designed for quick victories, no staying power. All Earth ships report ready, his tactical officer reported. Stealth units are in position. The Council's communication came through, their translator making the alien voice sound artificially smooth. This is your last chance to submit. Our fleet will demonstrate the price of defiance. Mike smiled. Launch the first phase. Across the star system, hidden human ships activated their primitive engines. They didn't use fancy antimatter drives or exotic energy sources. Instead, they used nuclear pulse propulsion, crude but incredibly powerful. The Council fleet's formation began to break as human ships appeared where none should have been. Their sensors, calibrated for advanced energy signatures, had completely missed Earth's vessels. "First volley, fire," Mike ordered. Railguns fired from multiple directions, launching kinetic projectiles at devastating speeds. The Council's energy shields, designed to stop plasma weapons and laser fire, barely registered the incoming threats until it was too late. Several Council ships shattered under the impact. Their elegant designs, never meant to withstand such crude physical force, crumpled like paper. "Impossible." The Council commander's voice lost its artificial smoothness. "Your weapons are primitive." "Primitive doesn't mean ineffective," Mike replied calmly. "Second phase. Begin." Earth's main fleet moved forward. Their ships looked blocky and inelegant compared to the Council vessels, but they were built to take punishment and keep fighting. The Council fleet responded with a dazzling display of energy weapons. Plasma bolts and laser beams crisscrossed space. Some found their marks, scorching Earth ships' heavy armor. But the human vessels didn't break. They didn't retreat. They kept coming. "Third hour of combat," the tactical officer reported. "Council ships showing signs of power strain." Mike nodded. Just as their research had shown, the Council's ships weren't designed for extended battles. Their powerful weapons drained too much energy. Their crews weren't conditioned for long fights. "They're breaking formation," someone reported. Multiple ships attempting to retreat. "Don't let them," Mike ordered. "Show them what happens when you threaten Earth." The battle continued for 6 more hours. Council ships, designed for quick, decisive victories, found themselves trapped in a grinding war of attrition against an enemy that simply refused to quit. "Enemy flagship signaling surrender," the communications officer announced. Mike activated the channel. "This is Admiral Stone." "How?" The Council commander's voice shook. "Your technology is inferior. Your ships are crude. You should have fallen in the first hour." "You still don't understand," Mike replied. "Humanity didn't survive on Earth by being the strongest or most advanced. We survived by never giving up, by enduring what would break others." The tactical display showed the results clearly. The Council's beautiful fleet was in ruins, their perfect formation shattered. Earth's primitive ships, though scared and damaged, remained operational. "The Council accepts your terms," the alien commander finally said. We request negotiations." Mike looked at the battle damage reports. Earth had lost ships and brave crews, but they had proved something crucial. Humanity wouldn't bow to threats, no matter how advanced the enemy appeared. "Tell the Council," he said, "that we're ready to talk. As equals." As the Council fleet retreated, leaving their wreckage behind, Mike sent a message to Earth Command. "Phase 1 complete. The galaxy now knows we won't submit, and this is just the beginning." The stars seemed a little brighter as Earth's fleet regrouped. Humanity had faced its first major galactic test and proved that determination could overcome even the most advanced technology. The Council had learned an expensive lesson: never mistake simple for weak, and never threaten a species that had turned survival into an art form. The Council's emergency session looked very different from their previous meetings. Gone was the arrogance, replaced by confusion and fear as they reviewed the battle footage. A junior Council member stood up, his tentacles trembling. "We must understand what happened. Show the human combat footage again." The holographic display activated, showing Earth ships taking hits that should have destroyed them, yet continuing to fight. It showed human crews maintaining combat effectiveness for hours, while Council ships' performance degraded rapidly. "We found something in their historical records," announced the head researcher, her scaled skin reflecting the hologram's light. "Throughout their history, humans fought wars lasting years, sometimes decades." The chamber fell silent. The concept of such extended conflicts was alien to them. Their planet tried to kill them constantly, she continued. Predators, diseases, natural disasters. Instead of dying out, they grew stronger. They don't just adapt, they thrive on challenge. The head counselor watched the battle replays. Their ships used physical projectiles. We thought they couldn't develop energy weapons. They did develop them, the researcher corrected. But they kept using kinetic weapons because they work. While we pursued elegance, they pursued effectiveness. New data streamed across the displays. Look at their ship designs. Multiple redundant systems. Armor that can absorb tremendous damage. Weapons that keep working even when main power fails. A military advisor stepped forward. Their tactics make no sense by our standards. They sacrifice efficiency for resilience. They expect things to go wrong and plan for it. And their soldiers. The researcher brought up biological scans. They can fight at peak performance for hours. Their bodies repair damage while still in combat. They feel pain but can choose to ignore it. The council chamber buzzed with uneasy discussion. Everything they had believed about technological progress and superiority was being questioned. There's more, the researcher added grimly. Other species are watching. The ones we convinced to pay tribute. They see what humanity did. The implications hit hard. The council's authority had been built on the assumption that their advanced technology made them unbeatable. Humanity had shattered that myth. We found their military doctrine archives, the military advisor said. They have concepts we never imagined. Asymmetric warfare, guerrilla tactics, total war. He paused. They don't just fight to win. They fight to survive. The head counselor stood. How did we miss this? How did we misread them so badly? Because we looked for advancement in the wrong places, the researcher replied. We measure progress by how far species move away from their primitive origins. Humans, they keep what works, no matter how simple it seems. More footage played. Human ships using asteroids as cover, employing basic physics to achieve what the Council did with complex technology, turning their supposed weaknesses into strengths. They're not primitive at all, the military advisor realized. They're practical. Everything they build, every tactic they use, serves a purpose. No waste, no showing off, just brutal effectiveness. Reports were coming in from across the galaxy. Other species were beginning to question the Council's authority. Some were already reaching out to Earth for alliances. We have to adapt, the head counselor declared. For the first time in 10,000 cycles, we have to change. The chamber fell silent again as the implications sank in. The Council had ruled through technological superiority and the assumption that newer always meant better. Humanity had proven that assumption fatally wrong. Contact Earth's leaders, the head counselor ordered. Tell them we're ready to discuss new terms, as equals. As the session ended, the researcher stayed behind, studying the battle data. She couldn't help but wonder what other surprises humans would bring to the galaxy. The Council had learned its lesson. True strength didn't come from having the most advanced technology. It came from the will to use whatever worked, to adapt, to endure, and to never, ever give up. The galaxy would never be the same again. 1 year after the battle that changed everything, the Council chamber hosted a very different kind of meeting. Representatives from Earth sat not on the speaking platform, but among the Council members themselves. Tom Gray, now Earth's permanent ambassador to the galaxy, addressed the assembled species. The tribute system ends today. All species are now equals under galactic law. The chamber, once a place of intimidation, had been redesigned. The rising tiers were gone, replaced by a circular arrangement where all members sat at the same level. Our first act, Tom continued, is to establish the Galactic Defense Initiative. Any species that wishes to join will receive protection and training from Earth's military forces. Admiral Mike Stone, standing beside him, activated a holographic display showing joint training exercises. Human ships flew alongside vessels from formerly subjugated species, teaching them tactics that didn't rely on technological superiority. "We don't need fancy weapons to be strong," Mike explained. "We need determination, creativity, and the will to stand together." The head counselor, now serving as just one voice among many, spoke up. "In 1 year, humanity has changed more than we did in 10,000 cycles. We thought we were teaching the galaxy. Instead, we needed to learn." Dr. Alan Reed presented the next proposal. "We're establishing open technology exchanges, not to make everyone use the same systems, but to share what works best for each species." The display showed new hybrid ships, combining Council energy weapons with human durability, alien sensor systems with Earth's practical approach to combat. Some said humans would seek revenge. Tom addressed the chamber. That we would become what we fought against. Instead, we choose to build something new. The changes weren't just military. Trade routes once controlled by the Council were now open to all. Species that had been classified as primitive were developing their own paths to advancement, free from arbitrary tribute demands. But remember, Admiral Stone warned, freedom requires strength to defend it. Earth stands ready to protect any species that faces unjust aggression. The message was clear. The galaxy was changing, and humanity would ensure it never returned to the old ways of oppression and forced tribute. "We've received requests from 17 species for military training," Mike reported. "They don't want our technology. They want to learn how we think, how we adapt, how we endure." The chamber buzzed with discussion as more species pledged to join the new alliance. Even former Council enforcers, impressed by Earth's strength and wisdom, were requesting membership. "The galaxy is entering a new age," Tom declared. "Not one of submission to the strongest, but of cooperation among equals, each species contributing what they do best." A small display showed Earth's ships patrolling trade routes, protecting merchant vessels from pirates who tried to exploit the changing times. They used the same primitive but effective tactics that had shocked the Council. "We learned something from this too," Tom concluded. "Strength isn't about having the best technology or the most resources. It's about having the wisdom to use what you have, the courage to stand up for what's right, and the endurance to see it through." The chamber erupted in approval. Species that had once lived in fear now stood tall, proud of their unique contributions to galactic civilization. As the session ended, Tom and Mike stood by a viewport, watching ships from dozens of species moving through space. "They thought we were primitive because we kept using what worked instead of what looked impressive," Mike mused. "Now they understand," Tom replied. "Humanity never needed to be the most advanced species. We just needed to be ourselves, stubborn, practical, and unwilling to bow to bullies." The stars seemed brighter somehow, as if reflecting the hope of a galaxy discovering true freedom for the first time in 10,000 cycles. The Council had ordered humanity to pay tribute, expecting submission. Instead, they had received a lesson in what real strength looked like, and the galaxy was better for it. The end.